Isaiah 7, verse 20. In the same day shall the Lord shave with a razor that is hired, namely by them beyond the river, by the king of Assyria, the head and the hair of the feet, and it shall also consume the beard. Here he's talking about Assyria, and he calls it something. He calls it his razor. God gets out the razor. Now you remember when the guys from Israel went up to visit Hiram, I think was his name, Hiram, and they shaved half their beards, and they cut off their robes at their buttocks to embarrass them. Part of what made a statement in Israel that you were a mature man was you had a beard. A woman can't grow a beard, or let's hope she can't. That's right. So that was the sign of masculinity, was to have a beard. Well, these guys shaved half of it off. He says Assyria is going to come in and take everything. You won't be able to as a man, you would say, no, this is mine, you're not taking it. Well, Assyria is going to come in and take anything they want. You're not going to be such a man. There's some names you probably know if you've read your Bible. The Old Testament, this little list of names pops up over and over. Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah. Those are the kings, and you'll know those kings because they repeat over and over in both the major and the minor prophets. They're well-known names. However, the instruments of punishment that God uses are not quite as well known. One of those is Assyria. Now, that's a broad title for many men. That's the kingdom is Assyria. We'll cover the actual men and what they did and see if that helps us understand what the Bible has to say. In 745 to 612, Assyria pops up on the scene. Now, they had resurged. They had originally been a problem for Israel, and God sent a prophet to go take care of business, and he did. Remember that prophet's name? Jonah. Jonah went to Nineveh, and they straightened up. For 40 years, Assyria was not heard of. They just dropped off the scene. Well, 40 years later, all of a sudden, with a vengeance, Tiglath-Pileser jumps on the scene, and he's going to make a statement, and he does. Here's the Assyrian guys that show up. They are Tiglath-Pileser II, Shalmaneser, Sargon, and Sennacherib. And those are all in the Bible. Yes, Tiglath-Pileser III. That's the third. What they'll do when they come to the throne is they'll claim a name of someone. It doesn't mean that his dad was Tiglath-Pileser. It means this is the third time this name's been used. You find the same thing with Sargon. Sargon was a name that wasn't used for 1,000 years, and then all of a sudden he surges into power, says, I want to be known as Sargon II. I'm just as powerful as that man was, so y'all know me as Sargon. That's the way they did it. Okay, so there's the men, and now let's see how it correlates with what the Bible has to say. Assyria was an old enemy of Israel, and because of Jonah, they'd been silent for a while, but in 745, Tiglath-Pileser makes his presence known. This is what historians call the Neo-Assyrian Empire, and it's 745 to 612. It's going to last. Every time there's a regime change, the kings all decide this is time to attack or this is time to rebel. Because most of the time, no nation was an individual nation. They all had asserted dominance over someone. So Assyria was no exception. They had many kingdoms that were under them that were paying them tribute. Well, anytime there was a regime change, those people who had been paying them said, hey, this is a good time as any just to quit paying. See how powerful the new guy's going to be. Well, Tiglath-Pileser was pretty powerful. So Tiglath-Pileser, he first moves down toward the southern and eastern kingdoms, that'd be Media and Babylon, and takes care of business down there. Says, yeah, y'all owe me some money, give it up. Next, he moves to the west. That'd be west of the Euphrates. And this will be called the Syrian Campaign in your history books. Tiglath-Pileser forces Rezin II of Syria and Menahem of Israel, the 10 northern tribes, into tribute, thus controlling Syria and the northern tribes of Israel. You'll remember Rezin. That's Isaiah chapter 7. We just read it. It's all about this whole conflict that's been going on. However, for some reason, he doesn't continue south. He could have, but he didn't. He just took care of the 10 northern tribes. They'd been paying him tribute. They decided to get rebellious, and he said, no, you're not. Everybody's going to know my presence. Just because I'm the new face on the throne doesn't mean that you get to do any less. But he didn't come down to Judah. Judah was still free of paying anybody tribute money. So instead of going south, he goes northwest, northwest, and into the Hittite region to gain control of the copper mines in Anatolia. And so that's what's going on in history. Let's see what's next here. On the throne we have, in Judah, we have Uzziah. That's, you remember this guy. Uzziah was a good king for a little while. Then he decided, maybe I'm not powerful enough, and just so everybody can know that I'm the king potentate, he decided he would usurp the office of the priest. And he goes into the temple, and when he does, God says, how about some leprosy? And he got leprosy and he ran out. And he had to live alone in a several house, is what it's called, a separate house. When he entered the temple, he was smitten by leprosy, and that's for the last 10 years of his life. He lived in seclusion. And while he was still in name the king, his son, Jotham, was co-regent with him, ruling. And then when Dad finally died, then he gets to take over as full-fledged king. That's in Judah. In the north, it's Menahem, however you say that. That's the king up there. Now you'll find that the pagans love to do the very thing that Uzziah attempted to do. The pagans wanted to control not only the government, the legislative and the legal side, they also wanted to control religion. So the king of the pagan countries were both the head of state and the head of religion. That way they were all powerful. If they couldn't find a way to get you legally and it made sense governmentally, they would claim it was religious, because they're the spokesman for God. Yeah, they're the Pope. That's right. And God forbid that. He said, we're not doing that, not in Israel. He says, I'm going to have a separation of church and state. Imagine that. Kind of like America has. Now, that was not to be always. God intended one day I'm going to combine those offices. The pagans are trying to jump the gun and do it the wrong way. Just like Israel trying to set up a king at the wrong time with the wrong tribe and all that stuff. We always want to do the right thing at the wrong time, in the wrong way. Well, one day God is going to set up a ruler who will be most holy as the head of religion and also the head of government. In Psalms 110, verse 1. Psalms 110, verse 1. Psalms 110, verse 1. Here's the king, Messiah. The Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou on my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. There's nothing religious about that. That's anarchy. That's war. That's somebody's going to, with an iron fist, control. Verse 4. The Lord hath sworn and will not repent. Thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. Priest. A king priest. In verse 6. He shall judge among the heathen. both as king and priest. He shall fill the places with the dead bodies. He shall wound the heads over many countries. Okay, so there's what's coming. That's the Messiah that's coming. Now, he'll unite the branches, but until then, he said, no, we're going to have separate priesthood and king. Jesus Christ is prophet, priest, and king. He gets it all. He's the head of everything, but no man ought to imitate it. Well, the heathens were doing it, and when Uzziah decided he was going to do it, God made him an object lesson. Okay, Uzziah is king for 10 years. Isaiah is called during the lifetime of Uzziah. A matter of fact, Isaiah gets his commission the day Uzziah dies. Isaiah chapter 6. Isaiah chapter 6, verse 1. Isaiah 6, verse 1. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple, so forth, so on. Great passage. But this is where Isaiah sees God, and God says, go get him, boy, sick him. And he gives the message down to Isaiah that he's going to be a prophet. Jotham rules after Uzziah dies, and he rules for another 5 years. In Israel, we've seen that guy, Menahem, that guy. And 2 Kings chapter 15, I want to show you an interesting thing. He's going to be dealing with Tiglath-Pileser, but I'm going to show you something tricky here. 2 Kings 15, verse 19. 2 Kings 15, verse 19. And Pul, the king of Assyria, came against the land. And Menahem gave Pul 1,000 talents of silver, that his hand might be with him to confirm the kingdom in his hand. Okay, so who is this Pul? You'll find it several times in the Bible. Pul is Tiglath-Pileser. Pul is a common name that he used. However, his name in the throne was Tiglath-Pileser, and not just Tiglath-Pileser, Tiglath-Pileser III. I don't know why that made him feel good. I never have understood people putting junior and senior and second and third and fourth and all that behind their names. Be original. But this guy's the third. His common name is Pul, so, in grade school he was called Pul. Pull your weight. And and by the time he got to be king, he was throwing his weight around. Okay, Menahem is killed the following year after Pul comes in. So he doesn't get to stay on the throne too long after the conflict. Pekahiah comes to the throne after Pul. And after only 2 years, he's killed by Pekah. Boy, it's fun to keep track of all these names, isn't it? Pekah. And he rules for a longer period of time. So Pekah will be on the throne, and we'll see more information about him. In the south, Uzziah rules after Jotham for 20 years as a wicked king. And it's unfortunate. But now we've got wickedness in the north and the south. And that's typical. Let's see, in 735, I haven't been giving y'all slides. Okay, I'm not good at this. In 735, the king of Egypt attempts to start a revolt against Assyria. Now think about this. Egypt is down here. He's so far down we don't even have him on the map. Egypt, he's way down here. He doesn't have a dog in this fight. Why is he stirring up mess? But he is. Because he decides, hey, look, I'm having trouble getting any trades through. You're hurting my economy. Assyria's put some tariffs on me and I don't like it. So he says, it'd probably be a good idea if I could stir up this northern country north of me, that territory up there, get them to revolt against Assyria, and then it'll open up my economy again. So that's what he does. He comes in. This is the first year that Ahaz is on the throne. And so he goes up there and he tries to get him to rebel. But Ahaz of Judah declines. Now with it, the Egyptians send Arabs. They send these mighty warriors. They're fierce men. They're probably taller and stronger than anything anybody's seen around, except for maybe a Philistine. And they come in, and they're going to be, the guarding force for whatever army will be in the revolt. And it's been turned down by the South. So what happens is they go on to one city after the next, and people start taking them up on their offer. So now we've got trouble in the Middle East, like normal. Pekah of Israel and Rezin of Syria decide they don't like the fact. See, here's Pekah and Rezin. Pekah is way up here in Syria, and Rezin. So they're going to combine forces and come against. I told you wrong. It's Rezin and Pekah, and they're going to combine forces to come against Judah, and they do. Well, that's got to be a bad night. And you'll find this in the Bible in several places, in 2 Kings 16, 2 Chronicles 28, and Isaiah 7. We'll pick it up in Isaiah 7. Isaiah 7, verse 3. I know what the king of Egypt is thinking. This new king, Ahaz, he's brand new. He just sat down on the throne. That's the same year he sat down. The king of Egypt sends his emissaries up there and says, let's start a revolt. Well, you would think, hey, that's a good thing for a new king to have, is, an army down there. But he didn't take it. Let's see what happens. Verse 3. Then said the Lord unto Isaiah, go forth now to meet Ahaz, thou and Shear-Jashub thy son, at the end of the conduit of the upper pool in the highway of the fuller's field. So that tells you something right there. Ahaz is worried there's going to be a siege. Well, there probably will be. And matter of fact, it's coming. Because Rezin and Pekah ain't putting up with somebody, bucking the system. And so they're coming against him. And he says, they're probably going to siege this place. So I got to make sure that the water's going to run in like it's supposed to. So he's up here at the upper pool and he's checking things out. But Isaiah's on the way with a message. Verse 4. And say unto him, take heed and be quiet. That's a thing to tell a king, isn't it? Hey, you just need to sit down and be quiet for a while. Fear not, neither be faint-hearted. For the two tails of these smoking firebrands, for the fierce anger of Rezin with Syria and the son of Remaliah, because Syria, Ephraim, and the son of Remaliah have taken evil counsel against thee, saying, let us go up against Judah and vex it, and let us make a breach therein for us, and set a king in the midst of it, even the son of Tabiel, that guy. Thus saith the Lord God, it shall not stand, neither shall it come to pass. For the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin. And within 65 years shall Ephraim be broken, that it be not a people. And the head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is Remaliah's son. If ye will not believe. I wonder why he threw that in there. He knows something's not quite right with this king. He's up there checking out the upper pool, but he's already plotting his way of escape. He wasn't going to join up forces with Egypt, and that's good. But he's got to find him a way out. So he says, if you will not believe, surely ye shall not be established. Moreover, the Lord spake again unto Ahaz, saying, ask thee a sign of the Lord thy God. Ask it either in the depth or in the height above. So he says, okay, let's convince this guy. Now, how are we going to do it? The way God always does it with a Jew. The Jews require a sign. So he says, ask of me a sign. I'm not going to put any limit on it. You want to know for sure that I'm the one that's going to do the protecting, and, I've just told you these two nations are not going to be, and just let me prove it to you. And look at this smart aleck reply. Verse 12. But Ahaz said, I will not ask, neither will I tempt the Lord. You're not tempted him when he just told you to do it. But he's getting so holier than thou, then that means he's covering something. He's plotting and planning. And he's already got some things working that don't include the Lord. And he's not going to waste his time including him at this point. Verse 13. He said, Hear ye now, O house of David. Is it a small thing for you to weary men, but will you weary my God also? Say, God's down here begging you to ask for a sign. It's not tempting him. You're doing what he said if you'll do this. You're wearying him by claiming that you're not going to put any pressure on him. He asked for the pressure. Let's see what he's doing. 2 Kings 16. 2 Kings 16, verse 7. So Ahaz sent messengers to Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria. Uh-oh. He's not going to join up with Egypt, but he's already sending out invitations to Tiglath-Pileser. Come on down here and help me. Saying, I am thy servant and thy son. Really? Come up and save me out of the hand of the king of Syria, and out of the hand of the king of Israel, which rise up against me. And Ahaz took the silver and gold that was found in the house of the Lord, and in the treasure of the king's house, and sent it for a present unto the king of Assyria. Well, in 734 to 733, Tiglath-Pileser launches the second Syrian campaign. In this campaign, Rezin and Pekah are killed. Ahaz starts paying tribute. His first initial, come help me, he threw out some coinage to say, come help me. So you know what that tells him? That tells everybody, this guy's got a big purse and he don't mind spending. So Tiglath-Pileser says, hey, I got a big chamber room right here that, needs some more coins. So every year you send me some coins. Now, Judah had not been in tribute, but now they will be. And for the next 30 years they will be. Verse 9. And the king of Assyria hearkened unto him, for the king of Assyria went up against Damascus and took it, and carried the people of it captive to Kir, and slew Rezin. And King Ahaz went to Damascus to meet Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, and saw an altar that was at Damascus. Well, this is sounding real good, isn't it? And the king Ahaz sent to Urijah the priest the fashion of the altar and the pattern of it, according to all the workmanship thereof. So now he's fallen down to a false god. Well, he was fallen down to the false god a long time before. It just wasn't obvious. Isaiah showed up and said, you're not going to have to worry about what looks like the war that's coming. You're not going to have to worry about it. God's taking care of business. And God wants to prove it to you. And he says, do this and do that. And he says, no, that would be tempting God, and I'm holier than that. And at the same time, he's sending emissaries up there to ask Tiglath-Pileser to come be his new best friend. And it happens. He comes down there, but puts him in tribute. And so now the place that was free is no longer free. Isaiah chapter 7. Isaiah 7 verse 17. Isaiah 7:17. Isaiah's got more to say to him. The Lord shall bring upon thee and upon thy people and upon thy father's house days that have not come, from the day that Ephraim departed from Judah, even the king of Assyria. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall hiss for the fly that is in the uttermost parts of the river of Egypt, and for the bee that is in the land of Assyria. And they shall come and shall rest all of them in the desolate valleys, and in the holes of the rocks, and upon the thorns, and upon all bushes. In the same day shall the Lord shave. There's the razor coming out. Shall the Lord shave. Where did I lose my place? Okay. That is hired, namely by them beyond the river, by the king of Assyria, the head and the hair of the feet. It shall also consume the beard. So he's going to do it. He's going to use the very thing that this king thought was going to be his salvation, because the guy had refused supernatural salvation, because the supernatural salvation didn't give him anything to do. That's where we get in trouble. We think just like this guy, 100% like this guy. Life says there's a war coming out, and there is. Guess what? If you open your eyes, you're being assaulted by war all day long. If it's not supernatural, it will be physical, financial, emotional, whatever. It's coming. You got a war. And God says, just read your Bible, just pray, just trust me, give it to me. Well, give me an answer. That's the answer. Well, that doesn't sound real spectacular. So, what do? Well, we can cook up a plan. I know some way we can handle this situation. There's a Tiglath-Pileser over there. Let me go talk to him. That's easy to do. It's a simple trap to fall into, and the devil lays it, and we fall for it over and over. All right, we'll pick up with the next. Shalmaneser will come next, and we'll see him. He's only a 5-year